Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany.
Much to talk about.
My name is Tiffany
This
Warner.
is Canada
I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. Today we've got Mr. LP, Larry Penton, paramedic, first responder, and also the host of a wonderful podcast called Trigger Warning Talk Podcast, where we talk about some very, very sensitive but needed to discuss issues.
$25. It's Willie
I'm
Nelson
waiting
and
for
family.
the radio to
3:30.
back in. Go ahead and just a second. Thank you, Larry, for being here.
And hailstorm. It's
He just pops in the middle of a sentence, so we're just going to wait. Hi, everyone, for being there. Thank you so much, Fernando, for being here. Ty, it's nice to see you again. What's up? And so many friends. It's National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. So the title of the show is "You Can Lead a Horse to Water, but You Can't Make Them Drink."
Plant City's delicious strawberry shortcake. Get details and tickets today at flstrawberryfestival.com. That's flstrawberryfestival.com. Or visit a participating public supermarket for discount admission tickets. The 2023 Florida Strawberry Festival. We have a winner.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And it is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And I learned this from my friend and guest today that keeps up with all current events. And is on twice or something. Oh, I got what you're doing. Anyway, before I formally introduce my guest, I want to say hi to Ed at Tan Talk Radio
Hey, happy Friday to everybody.
How are you?
Hello.
How are you? Happy Friday.
Yes, it is.
You did great on the show last week.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. Loved it.
Very transparent. Thanks for being my guest and executive producer. And
You bet.
You did really well. Did you know it's a National Eating Disorders Awareness Week?
I did not know. Now I know now.
Me too.
Did you need my opinion on it or what?
No, actually, I think we should have awareness about a lot of things daily, of course, but it's kind of the week we just kind of notify because eating disorders are very common. Anorexia, where they restrict on purpose, and then eventually can turn into anorexia nervosa, where it's in your mind that they see themselves as if in a fun house at a carnival. They see themselves completely different than what we do, how we see them, and their largest fear is to get fat or gain weight. Bulimia is to binge and purge. We'll get into most of the details, and the compulsive overeating is another one, and a lot of them come in combination too. Compulsive overeating can lead to bulimia, things like that. To not take responsibility for what we eat, and also it comes as a need for control, usually from some sort of trauma, a lot of child abuse or sexual abuse or assault or things like that. Because, like the title of our show today, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But so a lot of eating disorders come from a need for control, right? A need to be able to. That's one thing that nobody can force us to do. Can't really force us to eat. Give us an IV, right? But we control what we keep in our body. We control what we do. And so a lot of results of that in eating disorders as well, especially when someone comes to counseling into my office with an eating disorder, it's usually my first question is, let's go into the past and talk about what kind of trauma, what you've experienced, whether it's a loss of a loved one, it could be several things. So we'll get into that. And anyway, you're welcome to call in. He disappeared. But welcome to call in and join the live discussion. 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. Give your feedback. We are live on virtual YouTube. Just look up Moments of Clarity with Tiffany on LinkedIn Live, Twitter Live, and Facebook Live, and of course all the radio stations. And you can leave comments, live comments on the show, and we'll try to get to them in the chat, as well as call in and join the discussion. And please say hi to Ed when you do. So my guest today is a podcast host, but he's also been a fire paramedic and EMT and first responder, a police officer, and so much more. Just a wealth of knowledge, current events. He's always sending me stuff saying, did you know? And just like now, well, I do now. And we have a lot of education. If you can watch virtually, I know you're probably driving in your car. It's Friday, lunchtime, things like that. Be careful driving. Talking about eating disorders during lunch. And I'm going to be a spoiler for some people. Don't forget it's Friday for those of you that celebrate Easter and Lent. It's fish sandwich day. I was just reminded. See, I could go for some chicken. No, not today. I was in the middle of eating a chicken and rice and veggie dinner last Friday, and Wednesday, and someone reminded me. I was like, thanks. And then it's like, doesn't count if you don't remember. And I'm that person that just reminded you. Sorry about that. if you practice that stuff. Anyway, Larry Penton, thank you so much for being the guest on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing okay.
This is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. I am so happy. I got so much information that I'm going to be giving to you all from the first responders, specifically the EMS perspective and the medical perspective, because I am a co-moderator in a room in this application called Clubhouse. So on your smartphone, it's Clubhouse. On your computer, whether it's your tablet,
you do that every Tuesday, right?
every Tuesday at noon Eastern for an hour.
I've
Sometimes
interviewed quite a
it
few
might
people
go
that have Eastern time for an hour every
every
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I think I need to call Clubhouse and get them to sponsor the show since I promote them so often. People are like,
Yeah.
what's Clubhouse? Well, so many of my guests have great shows on there. Some of them are toxic though. When you get on the Clubhouse, you never know what you're gonna get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so please go on.
Yeah. So the room that I'm a co-moderator in is called Eating Disorders and Disordered Eating. It's myself, Leah Abraham, who is a childhood trauma expert, and of course the wonderful, the talented Erin Ryland. Erin Ryland suffered from an eating disorder and disordered eating for over 20 years, and she's gotten it under control for the last 7 years. She's a multi-expert on everything that you can even think of in regards to eating disorders and disordered eating. She has a number of certifications as she's a certified NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming, certified in doing breath work. She was actually on my podcast, which is called Trigger Warning Talk Podcast, streaming everywhere that you get your podcast. Also, Leah Abraham was on there also, and we have an ongoing series where we talk about stigmas and taboos and stereotypes regarding traumas. And so,
yeah, you get it. You hit it hard. That's why it's called Trigger Warning Talk Podcast.
So they brought me in this year in January. It used to be Erin, Leah, and a woman, Dr. Dawn Bansel. She had some other responsibilities, so I filled in for her. And so she'll be in periodically whenever she is able to be in the room as a moderator. That room, the replays are off, so it's not recorded or anything like that. So it's a safe space. You can come in, you can talk about anything and everything regarding eating disorders and disordered eating. We know that most, if not all, eating disorders come from some trauma that you've experienced or a person has experienced. And we really go deep dive into everything about eating disorders and disordered eating. People come in the room. If you want to share, you can come on the stage and share. If you don't want to share, you can, if you don't want to share verbally, because this is all audio, you can sit in the listening lounge or in the audience. You can put your comments, questions, concerns, issues in the chat. You can back channel, which is to basically send a private DM to one of the moderators, and we'll either read it aloud or, it might be just a private message that you want us to know about, but not share. And so it's a really great room. We're very hypersensitive.
On my calendar, so I'll probably be there Tuesday too.
Yeah, absolutely. We cover a lot of things.
It's great because it's anonymous, but you have to have a bio. You have to be like a real person.
Absolutely.
And
no trolls, no bots.
Some people can be a little bit toxic or whatever, but they can also be muted and kicked out of the room. So whenever I host or I'm a moderator, I love that part.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mute and dismiss and boot.
I'll tell you how I got involved in the room. So, there's not a whole lot of
only talk about eating disorders
in that room, eating disorders and disordered eating. But the conversation will get into what caused the person to develop an eating disorder and disordered eating. So it may be in trigger warning for everybody that's watching and listening. I'm going to be saying some things that might be triggering. So that's my disclaimer.
Okay.
So
let's get into
let me tell you how.
too.
Yeah, let me tell you how I got to be part of the room. So I came in the room months and months ago, and I was just listening in because I've always been interested in eating disorders and disordered eating, because I gave the people in the room 2 examples of how me as a first responder, specifically on my paramedic side, had patients who had eating disorders. So I gave them 2 examples of 2 different calls I had. So this was some years ago. So back in my home, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. back in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I was born and raised and worked and practiced, worked for an EMS service and a fire department. So working at the EMS service, I had 2 different calls, 2 different times. And these were 2 young ladies. One young lady, the call came out as a suicidal ideation call. So she tried to kill herself. And she did this by swallowing a bunch, like 40 pills. She never told us what kind they were or whatever. And so when we got to where she was located, she was sitting down with a relative and her eating disorder therapist, because that's where the call came out. She was at an outpatient eating disorder clinic. So we get her, we're talking to her. I called poison control to figure out what do we need to do based on what she took. And so during the conversation, found out that she had anorexia. And what she was doing was, she had stopped eating a lot. She was doing all kind of things, taking diuretics and laxatives and different things like that to lose the weight that she felt was too much for her. And she was just really feeling horrible. But we found out why she became anorexic. She became anorexic because she had gotten sexually assaulted. Specifically, she had gotten raped. I think it was 2 years beforehand. And because of this sexual assault, she developed eating disorder because she was a very voluptuous young lady prior to this incident. And the guy that raped her was making comments about her voluptuousness during this rape. And so
Not
she
even
was like,
just that. I mean, just even with that, a lot of sexual abuse or rape survivors, they want to lose the weight and not look sexy. So that's
exactly what she said. I don't want to look sexy to anybody else again, so I won't get
victimized. People want to rape them again. It's
absolutely
part of the mindset.
Well, because she had been traumatized and she was getting treatment. She was going to this outpatient eating disorder clinic, and it had just been billowing up and up trauma over and over again. She couldn't, whatever help they were giving her, it wasn't enough. And so she decided one morning she wanted to take her life, and she took all these pills, but then she thought about the therapist that she was working with, and this lady was really the bomb. She was really helping her and all this stuff, and she knew that she didn't want to end her life really, but she was still crying out for help. So once we found out,
it's like a lot of people with suicidal ideations are not really wanting to die. They just feel hopeless and don't want to be here, but don't know what to do, because sometimes things just seem so challenging and overwhelming, and from anxiety or depression or any of that. So it leads to suicidal ideation, which is much different than plan and fatality and lethality, like intent and all of that. But the intrusive thoughts that they are having are disturbing enough for them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger for a second, because I know I want to pause right there and see what happens.
Commercial break? Yeah, let's take a break.
You know it. and we'll see what happened next, because all of LP's stories have a really good educational point to it. But it's time for a commercial break and pay a tribute to our sponsors. So it's only not even a couple minutes. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany in just a moment.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LucyLopes.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hello and welcome back. This is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I'm your host. Today we are discussing what can be considered a trigger warning, just like the name of my guest's podcast, Trigger Warning Talk Podcast. And it's Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and compulsive overeating, and sometimes a combination of both or all three is very common and usually following a trauma. And before we went on break, LP Larry Penton, paramedic, first responder, was responding to somebody who had attempted suicide and was, as a result of a sexual assault, restricted her eating and developed anorexia, and kind of took a break in between there because a commercial break. We're going to have one in a little bit again, but welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and Larry Penton.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes version of these two patients that I had.
I know that you want to share your screen. I can tell you on the side.
Oh, yeah.
All your tabs are closed this time. One time I had LP on and he shared his screen and you could see all his little tabs open, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, I even blocked him and stopped sharing his screen for a second. I'm like, you sure you don't want to close any of those because you might have something? So now we have an inside joke, like, make sure your OnlyFans tabs closed. Even though he had none of that open, of course, but you never know what you forgot to close before you start sharing. all your info gets put out there. I was just looking out for you, but now we have all sorts of inside jokes.
I appreciate it.
He's a happily married man. He's not doing any of that stuff anyway, but it was kind of funny. So that's the joke. I'm sharing it with you guys get to hear the inside joke.
Yeah, we got
not so inside anymore. It's going public. Okay. Anyway, so
when we found out because even though I'm retired, I still have the same mindset of a paramedic that's active in the field. And I was trained by one of the best, who's nationally known as one of the godfathers of EMS and paramedicine. And so one of the things that he told me and all of our class and everybody that he's trained over 35 years is be a WHY paramedic, meaning you need to know more than what the call is about and what hospital they want to go to. You need to know the pathophysiology, which is the study of the body in its abnormal state. You need to know why this person is having chest pain. Well, what's causing it? Well, yeah, okay, my heart's hurting, but what's causing it? So we go deep into the why. And so once we found out why she had this eating disorder, as well as what caused her to commit the suicide attempt, it gave us a whole different interaction with her, because
so
now
smart.
we treated her even more like a human. She was not
Well, not
just
just that,
a person.
but how you approach her, and
Absolutely.
being able to be conscientious that she was aggressively attacked, probably by a male,
Yes.
and who knows what the male is like and everything. So if she's half out of it because of a overdose, and it could trigger her trauma.
Absolutely.
Because who knows what happened during the assault, if she was drugged or anything like that too.
Yeah,
And
it created a whole different way that we handled that call and dealt with her more as a human being. A lot of times when we talk about eating disorders and disorder eating, and I'll get into that after the second example I'm going to give you. It's almost treated as strictly a mental health issue, and it's more than that. So let me give you the second example. This other patient I had, the call came out as she had uncontrolled vomiting symptoms. It was a GI issue, and we get there. She has a
not
bloody
even
tissue.
that. Sometimes when someone's bulimic so long, you could think of it and throw up your food too.
Yeah,
not just a GI
so
problem, but it can be just
right
a learned
So
behavior too.
when we got there, she was sitting on the sofa. She had a bloody tissue in her hand. She was dry heaving, which means she couldn't even vomit up anything anymore, but she still had the gastrointestinal spasms. She was speaking in like 2 to 3 word sentences because she was like short of breath and different things like that. I asked my partner to go get an emesis bag, which is a vomit bag, out of the ambulance. And I started giving her these probing questions, because one of the things that we were trained on when you have someone who's having those type of symptoms is, I'm like, either she's an alcoholic, either she has cancer, or she has an eating disorder. And, I'm looking at all her meds. She didn't have any alcoholism in her history, didn't have any cancer diagnosis. And when I asked her, did she have an eating disorder? She was stunned, and she was like, how did you know that? I said, ma'am, where is this bloody tissue? What's going on with the bloody tissue? She said, well, that came from me vomiting. And so there's a term that we call hematemesis, which means vomiting blood. So she had been vomiting blood, and I asked, can I look her mouth, just to make sure her airway was clear, because again, she was talking in 4-word sentences. I took my pen out, and she had all these mouth sores. Her teeth were really damaged. Came from all of the gastric juices, the acidic juices
from throwing up so much
breaking
stomach
down her
acid.
enamel. Right,
Yeah,
all the stomach acid
wears
breaking
out your
down.
enamel. You can start seeing like transparency through teeth when someone's been bulimic way too long.
Absolutely.
This is not the same person that overdosed after the sexual assault,
Oh, this is a different person. Yeah, this is a person. So that same interaction that I had with that first patient, that example I gave you, same thing. It was a whole different interaction, because what I felt, she had gotten sexually assaulted also, and she had that same type of
usually following something like that, or grief and loss, or a sudden loss, or something big. It's a need for control. It starts off like that.
Yep. And so what she did,
it becomes where it's anorexia nervosa. People start counting the scale, counting numbers, and it becomes almost an addiction of a behavior that
absolutely,
it's really hard to break. It's not a habit. It's not just every now and then. It's a need to see some sort of result that they can control. And also fear of contamination. If after a sexual assault, to rid the body and to not look sexy, not feel sexy, not feel like someone is going to do that to them again. I gotta tell you though, like it doesn't matter what a person looks like. If there is a pedophile or a predator out there, they're gonna do that to anybody.
They're gonna do it. Yeah. I always say when it comes to trauma, anybody can get it and anybody can give it. Plain and simple. Anybody can get it. In this young lady's situation, after the assault, and she basically said the same thing that the first woman said, I'm going to make myself unattractive. She started gaining weight. She didn't like how much weight that she had gained, so she started going on all these diet plans. I'm not going to name the ones or anything like that, but she tried the two main.
We'll get.
Yeah, no, I want
censored.
Yeah, she tried the two big companies that have the diet plans and all that stuff. You know, it was so expensive. She wasn't getting the results that she liked. So she started binging and purging. And because she was binging and purging so much, it started damaging her mucous membranes, and that's where she was getting the mouth sores. It started ruining her teeth and all of those things or whatever. And it got to the point where she was binging and purging so much from that day we showed up 3 days before, she was binging and purging like every single day. Like she couldn't even hold anything in, and that's why she ended up calling up.
A couple of facts, just so people listening, binging means like eating and eating and eating, binging, like binge drinking, or just consuming a large amount more until you're completely full. And purging is to release it, basically throw up. Which a lot of things is another thing, can lead to jail time for theft, because binging and purging is expensive for a lot of people. They go through grocery stores or fast food or drive-thrus or whatever, spend money through even the dollar menu, whatever. Eat like a double cheeseburger, go to Taco Bell, whatever. Not that one, you know, but go through all the major drive-thrus that they enjoy, eat a lot, and then go and purge. But that adds up financially. So a lot of times, there's been clients of mine that have been arrested for shoplifting food or eating food during the aisles. They would watch people through the aisles eating out of the chips or eating donuts while they're shopping for food. Then they stash the box in the aisle or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of stuff too. So that's, you know, eventually it evolves into other bad habits because of not even being able to solve the problem. And if you go back and you talk about the trauma with a professional and you can heal from that, then you can learn to take responsibility for what you eat. Like, you don't have to be forced to eat or whatever, but if you're going to eat something that you can take responsibility for and digest a little bit at a time. The release is no longer there, but basically you're destroying your esophagus, all these physical things, you're destroying your teeth and your stomach issues. Eventually it starts coming out the other end uncontrollably, all sorts of things. I'm not really a medical doctor like that, but I've seen so many clients go through that and end up hospitalized. So it's more like getting to the root of the problem. What caused the need for control? What caused the need for that? And then working on a great diet plan, nutritional, work with a nutritionist, things like that nature that can help someone feel comfortable starting to learn to eat, because some people have gotten so far into that even the thought of a bite of lettuce is going to make them look fat, like things about that nature. An ice cube.
Yeah, body dysmorphia.
There you go.
One of the things that I did with that young lady is my conversation with her went from finding out what was going on, and I did the same thing I did with the previous patient that I gave you the example of. I talked to her like she was a person, like she was a human being. I didn't just say, okay, you know, oh, you having these dry heaves, let me start an IV on you. Let me give you some Zofran, which is an antiemetic medication.
Yeah, for vomiting.
And what hospital you want to go to. No, it was a whole different conversation. You know, I wanted to know how she was doing. What do you need from me? How can I help you besides just transporting you and giving you this IV and stuff? And so she said that she did not have a therapist. She hadn't seen anybody for mental health. So when I called the hospital, I asked them to bring in someone, one of the social workers, to be able to talk to her also or whatever. I told them, I said, she's not coming in strictly as a mental health patient. She's coming in because she's having a medical issue right now. However, because she's been traumatized and she's never gotten help, we need all the resources. So I want everybody and their mama to come in, you know, that can help this woman overcome this traumatic thing that happened to her. That made a huge difference.
If only first responders were all that knowledgeable and thorough as you described what you just did. You know, there's so many people that when they cry for help, you never know what you're going to get. And sometimes I don't want to say this the wrong way because of what's gone on in society, but you just never know what you're going to get. Sometimes the people that you call for help don't know what they're doing and can make the situation worse. Like when it comes to mental health or having to handle a situation with someone with autism, so to speak, or a trauma or PTSD, a veteran, things like that, that they can escalate the situation rather than de-escalate it because they're not educated enough to understand why the person's acting a certain way.
When we come back from this next break, I'm going to get into.
You know? How did you know? How did you know? You saw me look at the clock.
You trained me well. You know, I'm getting used to this radio stuff.
You're paying attention. This is why I love having you as a returning guest. You're always on topic, on point, and you get my sense of humor. If you're gonna laugh at my jokes, you can come on anytime. You're easily amused. Gotta love it. But we do have a commercial break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany in just a moment. Don't forget, you can call in 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. If we had a jingle, I swear people would remember it. 866-826-1340. We'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
To Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you miss any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hello and welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I'm Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I'm your host. And today we're talking about a very serious topic, but it needs to be discussed and discussed more than just during the week. I've done a lot of shows on eating disorders in the past previously, but I haven't in a while. So I'm glad that my guest here, LP, Larry Penton, brought it to my attention that it's Eating Disorders Awareness Week. Because there's so many suffering out there that are not getting treated, or trying to recover themselves and things of that nature. Welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, LP. I want to say also hi to all my friends and listeners in the chat that are saying hi and supporting the show. It means a lot. Every week we have a different topic. And it's always the things that mental health that we talk about it in a light subject, a light way, where we can talk about serious issues that weren't discussed, especially 8.5 years ago when I started the show. No one wanted to talk about this, and I was trying to get guests on the show and people call in, and no one wanted to put their stuff out there. Now people are talking mental health all over the place, and my husband once said I was like a pioneer because I was doing something. They're like, "How are you talking about that? Why are you talking about that? And you're drunk out there too." Truth be told, back in the day, I was diagnosed with anorexia and recovering. It's been a long time, but I started to build it in gymnastics when I was young, not 16, because I couldn't tumble like the other girls because I was developing, breasts, and some of the other ones were not. Now I've got boobs and they don't, and whatever, and I'm not anorexic. But just saying, the coach was kind of bullying, and then I lost my mother, a sudden loss right after that. I got down to 98 pounds and I'm 5'7". So I started to, like, signs of that, you start to skip periods, peach fuzz starts to grow in your hand, your arms. You can see your bones coming out. And it's a need for control, especially after a sudden loss. My mom passed away from a brain aneurysm, and I found her on the bathroom floor. And it was just devastating, where the thought of eating, my life felt like it was in a whirlwind. And it just triggered that. Eventually, through therapy and self-confidence building and things like that, and other things that I've done, learning to love myself as is. Plus, there's no way after having some kids you're gonna get your body back anyway. So you just gotta give up on that. But that's a whole nother show. Point being is that I'm not ashamed. It's okay to be okay, not okay. It's okay to talk, and there's nothing that we can't go through as a society, a community, and helping one another. And that there's always hope out there. We're not stuck in anything. There's always a solution to everything, except death, I guess, and taxes. But then some people cheat on those, I hear, not me. So live your life to the fullest potential. Be happy. And if you're not happy, there's a way to become happy, and seek out professional help. You don't have to be quote unquote crazy to find a counselor. Every healthy adult should seek and speak to a counselor. I have one myself. In my opinion, Larry has one, or two, or three. You got me too. Anyway, call in if you'd like to join the discussion. We've got about 10 minutes left. 866-826-1340 or leave comments in the chat. 866-826-1340. And there's no shame in seeking help. So, Larry, go on.
Mental health crisis is the world's oldest continuous pandemic that's been around since the beginning of mankind, and it's not going anywhere. We got to deal with all of the stigmas, the taboos, the stereotypes, the pain, the trauma, the shame, the judgment, all of that stuff. If we don't, we're going to continue to see the things that we see now. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop and cure every ill and every negative thing that we deal with in this world. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, folks. We're just working on and striving to make this ride smoother. Like Prince said, we're all here to get through this thing called life. And so people like mental health professionals like Tiffany and others who have dedicated their lives and their career to ending the stigma on mental health, myself included, as a first responder. This is how I got involved in this eating disorder and disorder eating room in Clubhouse. So if you go to Clubhouse,
hold on, before you get into Clubhouse, the reason a lot of this, and I'm sorry, but I just want to piggyback before you lose that thought, is that ignorance is the lack of education, and some people just don't know better, right? So they fear the unknown. So the more we talk about stuff and educate, and it's okay to talk, and it's okay to share your experiences. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. We all go through something. Everybody's gone through something. There's a diagnosis for everything, even a phase of life problem. You've changed a job. There's an adjustment disorder thing. There's something. We all have something. Sorry to bust your bubble. We all have something. Fear is the reason people want to avoid talking about something or want to fear of going to a therapist thinking they're going to be labeled or looked at like they're crazy or whatever. That's how I started the show. A lot of my clients were like, my mom sent me here. I'm not crazy, or I'm not crazy. I'm just going through this or whatever. No, you don't have to be having a severe psychotic episode to go talk to a counselor about a phase of life problem or a marriage issue or just not being happy or anxiety or whatever, especially since COVID. But we can't fix stupid. So the people that know better, have been educated, and are still judgmental, they're just, I'm sorry, we can't fix stupid. But are we supposed to care about their opinions? And I say a lot of times, lions don't care about the opinions of sheep. And I heard that was a Republican phrase or whatever, but it's a therapy thing. You don't have to, I'm not politician. We're not doing politics. The point is that with the stigma, if you're avoiding seeking help because of feeling labeled or what people will think or fear of embarrassment or whatever, that it's Dr. Seuss once said, do what you want and say what you feel, something like that. Because the people that mind don't matter, and the people that matter won't mind.
That's right. Absolutely.
Totally. I'm off my soapbox. What did you say? Drop the mic, Larry out, Tiffany.
LP.
I just wanted to put that out there.
I love it. So in Clubhouse, if you join Clubhouse, there's a bunch of rooms that you can join, and it's an audio-only social media app. The room is called Addiction and Recovery. You join that room, and then in that room, there's sub-rooms. And so the room that we do every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time is Eating Disorders and Disorder Eating. And again, the replays are also, the room is not recorded or anything like that. It's a safe space. You can come in and talk about anything regarding eating disorders and disorder eating. There are a lot of times where people will share their stories about in their journey from when their disorder started. And a lot of times those disorders started from a trauma. A lot of those traumas were sexual in nature, or it may have been a physical beating, or it may have been an emo attack. Mm-hmm. Somebody talked about, we were talking about body dysmorphia.
But like, look at somebody commented, Nando, primary event was a sexual assault. I believe they should have dealt with that before the food issue. which would have been ideal, except most people don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people that have been assaulted, especially back in the day, are afraid to seek help. They're afraid that nobody's going to believe them. They're embarrassed. It's one word against another. For some reason, you know how many assaults have not been reported because of all of that. So some people want to handle it on their own, and then it turns into that. If they had sought help, maybe it wouldn't have turned into that. But the sad part is, and that's a great comment in our chat. Thank you, Nando from YouTube.
And there are many reasons. There are many reasons that people develop eating disorders and disorder eating. What I'm saying is, I don't like the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because we don't know why people do what they do. That's not the point. Our goal and our point is, hey, seek help. No matter what is the trauma, no matter what the cause of the trauma, no matter who caused the trauma, no matter when the trauma started, no matter where the trauma started. Because again, when it comes to trauma, anybody can get it and anybody can give it. So,
because as a result, a lot of people self-destruct. So it could have been alcoholism, drug addiction, a whole bunch of things that could have resonated. There's different, it's self-destruction. We have 5 minutes, Larry.
Okay.
5 minutes. We got the alert from Ed just now.
No problem. So I want to share my screen and show you something real quick. So
close your tabs. How do I let you do that? You can do it on your own?
Let me see if I can do it. Let's see here.
I can do it like this. Let's see. There we go.
For some reason, what I wanted to tell everybody.
I opened up the tab that you.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not doing, but that's okay. I can just talk about it. So when we're talking about eating disorders and disorder eating, you touched on something that's very important, which as a first responder, we don't get a lot of mental health training. That's a problem. So when I started my company back in March, we'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary this month. My company is called Penton Pending Consulting Solutions, LLC. So I do a bunch of my certifications, and I'm in the process of renewing my medic license. I don't need it to do the work that I'm doing. I just need the license to be active in the field, working on an ambulance or a fire truck. But
if we're not looking at your screen, let's
look
it out, because your voice is cutting in and out if we're not going to use this. So I can close it so that unless you're using it.
That's cool. So it is Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And so what we want to do is promote all the things all these activities. And so if you go to the nationaleatingdisorders.org, you can find a bunch of information. So National Eating Disorder Awareness Week is February 27th through March 5th. And so the theme for this year is it's time for change. It's time for change. And what you want to do is you can go to that website. You can see all of the activities and the events. They got people that are posted blogs about eating disorders, and there were 30 cities across the U.S. That had, like, in their downtown areas, certain buildings were illuminated, showing solidarity for Eating Disorders and Disorder Eating Week. And so we want to share that information with everybody. What the other thing that I had on the screen was from the EMS perspective, I get a lot of calls on things that are not just heart attacks and strokes and all of that stuff. So I got a table that shows some of the common chief complaints in patients with eating disorders. You know, if you call for chest pain or shortness of breath or palpitations, which means you have fast heart rate, or fainting, a lot of that stuff can be caused from eating disorders and disorder eating, or like I was talking about, the vomiting symptoms, or, you know, having calluses on the hand or the mouth sores and different things like that. We need to be aware of these things. And so my goal is to help other first responders know how to deal with eating disorders and disorder eating.
Which is so important because you don't want to trigger someone that's going through so much already.
That's
Thank
right.
you. It's time to wrap up. The hour just runs by so fast. Larry Penton, thank you so much. Please follow Larry, and you can, I'll post his links and everything, but Trigger Warning Talk Podcast.
Yes.
And that's on Spotify, and you'll hear my interview on there. I was there a couple weeks ago. You posted my
Spotify, YouTube, and
you want to know
all the major podcast platforms. We're on all the major podcast platforms.
Yes. And so it's time to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for viewing, and have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Friday. Please be kind to yourself and a stranger, because you never know what they're going through. And let's all stick together, because change can only come when we stand together as one. Thanks again. Help me out. Drop the mic. Thank you guys.
See you.
Now it clicks. Moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity.